All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this work session of the Orange County School Board. And two applicants tonight, I believe. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Jar to take us away.
Chairman, and I'm going to be real quick and just turn it over to Dr. Bernier so he can introduce our first charter school.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Jar, school board members. Just an opportunity to let you know a little bit about our process. Thank you for being so cognizant of the changes, and now that we meet in February instead of August. So that's been the big change in how our charter applications came in. We had 5 letters of intent. We got 7 applications. 5 have exited the process to this point. Our 2 remaining candidates are before you tonight. The first one will be West Orange Montessori, Innovation in Montessori High School. And we want to take the opportunity to remind all of you that our process, and for the candidates that are here tonight, we take copious notes, we listen to your questioning, and then our final recommendation with the superintendent will be forthcoming at the board meeting in April. So thank you very much for your time and attention to these 2 applicants, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Scott for the formal introductions of the board.
Protocol having been established, hello everyone. I want to introduce you to the School Board for Innovation Montessori High School. Seated before you at the table is Brett Casey, Allie Braswell, Patrice Cherico, Sherilyn Moore, Jeremy Bellis, and Philip Galena. Now, Montessori has a large board, so we do have some other board members in the back. So we have Betsy Sorg, Heather Kerr-Moore, and Kristen Chase. So we'll begin with your 10-minute presentation.
So we have, let me give you 1 second. Ms. Flynn, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So we have Ms. Flynn with us as well on the telephone. Daryl, can you do me a favor? Can you put your phone on mute? We're getting some feedback. So you can hear us, but we don't hear you. Can you do that?
Okay. I'll try to do that.
Okay. If it's not possible, that's fine.
We hear a drum beat. I'm a drummer. Percussion is small.
All right. We're all ears. We're all ears.
Thank you so much, and everyone can hear? It's good. Okay. School board members, Dr. Jara, school choice leaders, thank you all for allowing us to present our vision for Innovation Montessori High School today.
And let me ask you to pull the microphone just a little bit closer to you if you could. Thank you.
There we go. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm Sherilyn Moore, and I'm governing board president of Innovation Montessori Ocoee and Innovation Montessori High School. Is that better? And all of us here today, you met the board members. We also have our PTO leadership here and some of our high school committee members. And as you can see by our presence, we are very vested in this process. And most of us have children at the school. And it is, they're growing very, very fast. And we've had the pleasure of being a grassroots organization who started a charter school. And it has been quite the learning process over the past now 7 years, and we feel that it is time to bring this model to the next generation, right, and the next incarnation for the students that have gone through our Innovation Montessori Ocoee since they've started school. So it's very exciting for us. We tend to go on about it a little bit, so that's why we do what we do. Mm-hmm. I'm going to click on here. We had UCF come out and do a study of all of those future IMHS students that you just saw. And 90% of our students reported that the reason why they're learning is to help other people. And that alone was so extraordinary to us because we knew what we were teaching. We knew we wanted to teach the whole child. But the fact that 90% of them understood that that's why, you guys can hear.
Can we have you put it just a little close? I'm sorry, we're having a little bit of a hard time.
It's all right. It's all right. And I can probably go loud without the mic too. So.
Use your teacher voice.
I know, right? I use my teacher voice to get the kids in the back. So 90% of our students reported that they were learning to help other people. And we found that that was an extraordinary figure. But then 99% of our students reported that they felt loved when they were at school, that they felt supported. And that is something that is really unheard of. And UCF said we've never seen such results like this before. And those are students in our K through 8. And so that is They understand that the reason why they're learning is purposeful. They understand that they have a reason to be here and to be educated, and that a lot of adults don't understand that yet. And so we feel that these students who are really motivated to learn because they know that they can change the world, we want to allow that to continue. And when the time when they're most able to take that and launch it into the world is in high school, they're really shaping and really developing into young adults. And so continuing them on that journey with the high school is so important to us, to the families, to our children. They need Innovation Montessori High School. And we kept it at 800 students. It's a smaller model because that was the optimum range. It was 600 to 900 students as the optimum range for an effective high school. And we felt like that would keep also the culture that we've built and that continue to build of volunteerism, of love, and keeping those students engaged at every turn. The official mission of Innovation Montessori High School is to cultivate independent, inspired, and innovative leaders through purpose and standards-driven project-based learning, a Montessori focus on global perspectives, and a 4-year-long innovation incubator. And I just wanted to speak a little bit about each one of those components to kind of give some clarity to it. It's in great detail in the charter, but we'll give the Cliff Note version. The Montessori philosophy of education is at its core student-led and hands-on. And the focus of a more holistic kind of global perspective and a peace education, that is something that we feel is, clearly it's working, right, in our current students population. And we know that that is a foundational aspect of an effective high school. We require our students to take charge of their education. It isn't an option. And so we instill independence, we instill self-sufficiency from the earliest ages. And carrying that through high school is really critical for us. The Wallace Foundation study on young adult success calls this agency. And that is a critical component of success for adolescents, and that is something that we take very seriously into continuing their independent development of their education. In your packet, on page 3, we highlight some of the leading research that we used over the 6-year period of time when we developed the high school. And we kind of unpacked it a little bit and drew some parallels. It is the same philosophy in action, just using different words. So we culled it down to innovative, inspired, and independent. But you will see through the research that what everyone advises on to be most successful in the world now, this world, is to be adaptive, to be collaborative, to be communicative, just to really get those executive skills as well as the content. So if you want to read more about that, it's in there. It's also deeply in the charter. One of the things that isn't in that document that I wanted to share because it was one of our foundational books was there's a book by Daniel Pink called Drive. And I've been a college professor for 15 years, a little more now, and trying to motivate my students and for them to want to go above and beyond has always been, I think every educator has that, right? We always, how do I get them to want to do this, to love the learning, to go further? So when I found that book, it was really a watershed moment because what he said was to create this intrinsic motivation, you need purpose, autonomy, and and mastery. And when I looked at what we needed for the school and the educational research that we were doing for the charter and for the high school, it matched. It matched what works for adults to give them intrinsic motivation works for adolescents. And as a mom of 2 girls, I also really needed a way to get my girls to do their own laundry. So I was like, how do I intrinsically motivate them to wash their clothes? And I want to report that it worked. They're 8 and 11. They know how to run the washer and dryer. Thank you. And it's also working for us at our school now. And we know that for the adolescents, it will also make a huge difference. We're backwards designing the project-based learning. That's the other component that is very big and broad inside the charter. Project-based learning, when you backwards design it from the standards, folks like Marzano agree that is the absolute best way to get a deep and long-lasting education. The content isn't just forgotten after a test because they've hands-on. They're really invested in it. And is that my timer already? Wow, okay. So if I can give you one other brief thing about the incubator, or shall I?
Sure. How long
Okay.
do you need to wrap up?
3 hours and no.
You can't have that.
I'll do it in 2 minutes. So the project-based learning in Montessori, we have a kind of a capstone, and that's called the Innovation Incubator. And because it's unique, I just wanted to speak to that briefly. The students will be able to launch a project or projects while they're in school. They will be able to, entrepreneurship programs are out there, but what makes ours different is it can be entrepreneurship, nonprofits, inventions, and they will also have their own internal economy where they can help each other with their projects. And launching that while they're in school with the guidance of their professors, the guidance of the staff, and working with each other, it allows them to really execute on a lot of those executive skills, but also to understand what grit is. There's a lot of conversation around grit right now. But until they get to actually do it and see what it takes for real success, that is what we're going to provide them with the Innovation Incubator. So, and just the last thing that I wanted to say is that we are so proud to be an OCPS charter school. We have had a wonderful relationship with the school choice folks, and we have right now our waiting list is over 700 for our K through 8, and we already pulled the lottery, so it is needed, it is wanted, and we have developed a wonderful community of dedicated families that are very excited about bringing high school to their children and to the county. So thank you so very much for all the time. And any questions you have, we are all here.
Okay. So I think board members, what we'll do, and thank you for your presentation, is the usual. We'll start down. Why don't we start with you, Mrs. Robinson? Any questions? And we'll just go on down the line and go in that order.
First, I want to say that I believe I saw your school, I believe it was your arts department, your orchestra perform at the MLK Parade Day.
Yes.
They
That was
did
us.
fabulous. That was at MLK Parade Day in Ocoee back in January. That was fabulous. They did a great job. So they
Thank you.
represented very well. That was a beautiful expression. So thank you for that. You answered some of my questions. I had questions about the incubator, and you answered some of that. So I'm going to ask, what's your plan for technology use? Do you use technology in the classroom? And do you plan to be one-to-one device? Or explain to me your technology plan.
Yes. Yes, we are. The students will have an electronic work plan. We're developing a learning management system that they all will be taking part of, and they all will have a device, yes.
Ms. Covert?
Okay, is it correct that you plan to expand your current facility in Ocoee to accommodate the high school?
Right now, yes, the short answer is yes. We're going to have the high school at our current facility, probably our projection is until 2021. And in 2021, we would like to build nearby, attached if we can, depending on land availability, but nearby if we can't do it attached, yeah.
So will you be expanding one grade at a time? Is that your intention?
Yeah, we did a slow growth model for this charter, and it has worked very well to be able to expand in that way. So we'll start with 9th grade, then 9th and 10th, 9, 10, 11, and keep that mix of students who are used to more independent learning strong. And so when students are new to the system, they come into a culture where that's what's normal. Same thing with the peace and grace and courtesy curriculum, that in high school it kind of morphs to conflict resolution and peace education. But when they come into a culture that's very strong in that, it's easy for them to matriculate, to adapt to it, yeah.
Right, but students will come from outside as well?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Are you also submitting an application in Lake County? Is it the same governing board?
It's the same governing board. The Lake County project is a pre-K, or it's a K through 8, and it would start very small with just the kindergartners the first year. And we also have a pre-K program, so it would be our 3, 4, and 5-year-old program, but the charter itself would just be the kindergartners beginning. And then it also will grow 1 grade a year, very slow.
So your high school is going to be small. And, you know, in the state and nationally, we're experiencing a teacher shortage. So how do you intend to recruit the teachers for all of the required courses that the state requires?
Right. Well, one of the things reason why we're starting in our facility that we have right now is because our middle school teachers are 6 through 12 certified.
Okay.
And we're going to recruit more 6 through 12 certified teachers for the high school. And so all those specific subject matter designations and certifications they need to have, we can spread it out over the different student bodies. And then we also have, this summer, we are really launching our internal teacher training program. So as new teachers come in, as teachers who've been there a while, we really want to make sure that they understand the unique model of being a public Montessori, and also with the high school, giving them those extra skill sets. So we're going to train a lot from within, and obviously promote and from within as well.
Well, I will tell you, your application is very thorough, very well done. You guys have been great partners so far, so well done. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
It is very, very thorough. Congratulations.
We like to talk about education.
And usually we have a lot of questions. I think it's so thorough that this time we're like, okay.
Okay, great.
But, you know, I have to tell you, every once in a while, and we're sort of a little peek behind the curtain, we're sort of sometimes given suggestions for questions by staff. And the one that intrigued me, I'm going to take it, board members, is you're going to start the day with yoga and mindfulness meditation at 7:45. Is that open to school board members?
Yes,
I could use that.
absolutely.
So, and is yoga and meditation, is that a requirement for all students?
No, the required classes start at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's really cool, though. I like that. And I didn't hear the answer. Can you repeat your answer? I mean, I heard it, but I wasn't paying close enough attention to the facility question.
Mm-hmm.
Is the high school going to expand into that facility that we saw in your video, or are you building an additional add-on to that facility?
Yeah, the answer is actually both. That's why
Both.
we're going to start, because we're starting so small, we'll start at our current facility, which is, we are going to be constructing an additional wing right now. In 2019, it'll open. So we will have plenty of space to have the middle school and high school. That makes that sharing of the resources of the staff much, much easier. It's very natural to have that, right? And then around 2021, when the population of the high school is a little bit larger, we are going to develop a new facility. And actually, one of the things we're very excited about is we're going to involve the students in the process, because what better way to learn? And then they're going to be able to help develop the spaces that they're actually going to live and breathe and work in. So about 2021 is when we'll do that. So,
And y'all opened up originally in what year?
2011.
2011,
Yeah.
okay. And when you opened up, were you K through what?
It was K2.
K2, and then you slowly expanded? Okay.
Yeah.
And your first year is going to be 100 students in the high school, so you're going to add a grade per year?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I asked this of all the applicants. Staff maybe alerted you that I would be asking this, but will you agree to have your charter subject to review and possible revocation if you do not test enough students to receive a letter grade in any 3-year period? Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Yeah, I can't imagine that not happening.
I can't either, but we've had it happen in the past, not for years.
I do have a teacher voice, so
okay.
I can't, and I have a principal voice for a
She's our
cafeteria, so.
executive, Patrice Jericho is our executive
Right.
director. And will be
Yeah, I
executive
can't
director.
imagine I can't see a scenario where that would never happen.
I can't either, and
Yeah.
I'll be candid. I started asking that question 8 years ago when I got on the board, and the first couple of years, we had a couple schools that did not receive letter grades because they failed to test enough students.
Wow.
I'm looking over at Dr. Bernier and Kia, but I don't think we've had it happen for years, but I still ask. And hopefully you can give me the same answer to the next question is, will you agree to a review of your charter if you do not achieve at least one C grade in any 3-year period?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
And if I recall right, I was scrambling here to pull it up. I usually have it up by the time we get to the questions, but I think you all have done pretty darn well, haven't you?
We've done
when it comes
very
to
well.
the letter grades.
Yeah.
Well, kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
Makes us look good, and we do care. about the perception of our charter schools and how they're performing. So
And
thank you.
since the mic is open, I do want to just really do, and this is very sincere, and I think they know this is very sincere, I can't say enough about what we receive with OCPS, because the school choice department is fabulous, and the ESE department, I just can't say enough good things about our relationship and how they help us. So, thank you.
Thank you. Well, we're big fans of them as well. All right, Mrs. Gordon.
Thank you so very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. I couldn't get your name, and I don't think this is your name on the card.
It's Sherilyn Moore.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's me.
all right. Okay, all right, because I said.
Doesn't sound like it's not spelled like it
I
sounds.
couldn't hear
yeah.
it in the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a little different from them. I think you can see that. I'm totally different, okay? And I'm very proud of being different.
You're my sister.
And you're my brother. We're just getting to really love each other, because we'll probably be separating. No, I have questions, and you talked a lot. Just write them down, and then, 'cause, somebody write them down. And I hope each one of you could take one or the other, and not you talk all the time.
Absolutely.
Because I'd like to hear. Now, any of you going to be paid? Are any of you going to be paid staff?
We are the.
No, at the table, and then I'm going to find out from the back. Who's going to be paid staff?
Will be the principal,
Patrice.
so I'll be paid.
She's the executive director.
Okay,
And Kathy, there's a couple of our staff
bored.
back
She
here as
shouldn't be
well.
bored.
Yeah. Oh, but
And
not
then
me, I'm not supposed to answer.
three of you will be, I know some of you guys, and that's going to bring me to my next question, okay? The application, well, you talked a lot about project-based learning. I need you to give me an example of what you mean by that, okay? Because I work quite a bit in that area. And then you talked about entrepreneurship, and you talked about executive skills. So I need whoever's going to deal with that to elaborate on it, and how do you plan to lay that out? That's number one. The next question I would like to know, we're in Orange County, and the state of Florida has two teacher evaluations that we use. Some people use Danielson. Are you familiar with Danielson? And then some use Marzano. I need to know, what evaluation tool will you be using on your teachers, and are you considering where they're coming from? Because that would be a total confusion there, okay? And then I also need to know, will you be paying actually for it? But because I did not see basically what are your costs, what is going to be the cost based on the number of staff that you're projecting to hire, that would be associated with the assessment, okay? Because there's a cost to the assessment. And then I could not find it in your budget. So before you leave today, if you could show me where that cost is located in your budget. So no, y'all are bored. Oh, yeah. Don't let them. They're supposed to know what you are. Don't be helping up here now. I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm a teacher up here with more years. I have over 50 years. And I'm still teaching. I'm an Osceola teacher. Okay, and I've already taught my 25 in Orange. And this is going on my 19th year on the board. All right, and I'm still teaching. And I love every minute. All right. Okay, so that's that. And then my next question is to somebody up here. I'm giving you time to get your answers, because you all are the board. You're supposed to know, not one person, the board. Do you have any parents sitting up here on this board?
All of us.
No, baby. Parent, potential parent with children. I know some people on this board, and I know they don't have no babies that's going to be in that K-8. Didn't I say I know some of y'all? I know how old some of your kids are. I know some
board
don't even
members-
have any. Okay.
The board members also.
No, don't take my time.
Okay.
I'm giving you something so y'all can do it yourself. You're supposed to know it. Okay, but I do want to know, does the board intend to hire an ESP to manage the operation of the school? Because you talked about it on page 69 and of the application. You talked about it, but do you plan to hire it? Okay? And I know you talked.
Yeah.
Oh, am I?
So,
Okay.
Patrice,
Yes.
Where will you take
Do you
Oh,
want
no.
to take
Oh, yeah, well, that's right.
And then-
Okay, but let them answer some of it, because she talked about, okay, that's what I asked you.
education?
Yeah, that's all right. So go ahead.
So,
Ignore the page 69.
okay.
That one, okay.
So in terms of the project base, you wanted to have an example. So an example would be is if we were in, a biology class, and we were also working alongside a social studies teacher to get into a project. We would then first start at the standards, where the students themselves will be a part of the unpacking of those standards and really breaking apart what the project needs to cover. The students and the teachers will be led to look at possible ideas that they may want to attach to those that project, because you always want a project to have some meaningful relevance, but you also want to make sure that it's covering the standards. So they'll obviously have to have a lot of scaffolding, to help them with that. And then they'll also have to have targets within that project that are going to be assessed. And the teacher will always having to be making sure that those targets are rigorous enough so that the teacher, because the teacher obviously is the one that's signing off whether or not there's going to be mastery, covered in the content. So that's just a brief synopsis.
No,
Do you want to- okay.
that's good.
Okay.
Because as the board, they did state that you really got a full pack in here.
Okay.
All righty.
And then, speaking as a principal,
Yes.
I'm very familiar with Danielson. I loved Danielson. I used Danielson when I was a principal before. We actually, right now, are using the Florida Consortium of Public Charter Schools, their
Okay.
evaluation.
So you're using that?
Yes, and we've used that right now, and what I'm envisioning that we would use that, and the cost for that assessment is probably tied into our software. When I work with our accountants, that's usually probably where we're costing it out, because I think your next question had to do with the cost of
Okay.
that assessment.
How are you going to make the interchange between, I know you said you're familiar with Danielson, but are you familiar with Marzano also?
Yes, I haven't been trained in Marzano, but I
Okay.
am familiar.
Okay, so with the teachers coming on board, they are all charter school teachers that have been trained in the one that you're going to be using?
Yes, ma'am, they have to be. I have to make sure that
Okay,
in the
that's
beginning
what I
of the
need to
year
know.
that they're trained and they are aware.
That wasn't a question for yours, but I mean, I needed to know what evaluation, because that's a big thing.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, now, I'm also going to ask something else. I mean, the union is a big thing. How are you going to do, would they be allowed to be a part of the union? And how are you going to handle that with collaboration and negotiations?
We haven't had issues around unions at this point.
But this is a trending thing right now.
Right, if that comes, that would be
Teachers
some.
are beginning to try to have a voice, and the paraprofessionals, and you see what's happening out at Disney.
Absolutely.
People are beginning to try to have a voice so that they can feed their children and be able to make a decent salary. And if this was to come upon, I mean, I would just kind of want to know how you would handle it, since we are in a right-to-work state, and they are trying to get rid of a lot of voices that the educators and those working in the education field can have, and I just kind of needed to know where you stood on that.
So we would, anything like that would come up, we would take it to the board. Right now, we're small enough, we don't have quite 50 staff members.
Okay.
But the board knows that I'm a teacher first. So
I understand.
I was always that principal that they knew very well, that I always stood by my teachers and stood by my paras, because I spent so much time in the classroom. So I understand that heart, and I understand that need, and I'm very proud to say that the board really understands that need.
Okay.
So
You'll be looking out for the welfare of your
Absolutely.
employees.
Absolutely.
I would hope so. Okay. All right. I think you were going to answer the other one for me?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of easier answers that I'll just get out of the way.
Those were
Thank you, Patrice.
easy, because they are educators, so they can handle those.
The first one, none of us are paid members of the board.
Good, that's what I needed to know.
For full disclosure, We do see the need with multiple campuses, multiple charters out there, that we need to have stability and continuity within the board, within the organization. So we have posted, if you were to look on Indeed, for a CEO position to add that continuity, because we are at the point where we can afford that through how we've modeled our financials, especially as we grow, to afford that position and try to centralize some of the tasks involved so that each school doesn't have that piece of the puzzle, and we can kind of centralize that so we can have money or savings at each location. So in full disclosure, we do have a position that's posted. We do have a board member that has, in public record, said that they're interested. So in any conversation that the board has on that position, that member steps out of the room and isn't part of the discussion. Okay. So I want to make sure above board and we're not keeping anything where we're answering but not really answering. The piece on the ESP, we're not specifically hiring for that, but we are training and managing our staff so that.
But you do see a need for that too, right?
Yes.
The other charter was big concerned about that too, but there's a need now because of everything that's happening. But go ahead.
Mm-hmm. She touched on the cost of the assessment, where it is in the budget, the project-based learning. As far as the executive skills and learning, the holistic learning, we probably all have individual stories of how we've seen it happen in our children, but it's amazing to see what happens when you stoke the fire of learning in these individual kids and see that, you know, in all of us, if we were to read a book, we're going to remember a lot more of it if it's something we read because we wanted to read it as opposed to somebody told us to read it. And so we see that every day in our kids where they want to learn and have a natural thirst for it. And in that, because we do multiple ages in our classrooms, you get the ability to learn it and teach it. So there's a huge social aspect to that and a very humanistic piece where you learn a lot about your emotions and controlling who you are and understanding what it is to be able to resolve a conflict with somebody else without going to a course that's conflict resolution. So a lot of these executive skills and developing the whole child happen in our day-to-day activities without having to put a bullet up on the board and say, today we're going to learn about how to, you know, come to grips with other people that don't agree with us. It's just part of what we do in that environment. And I'll let Allie address the parents.
Thank you.
So, not wanting to correct Mrs. Gordon, but I do now have 3 generations at Innovation Montessori.
I wasn't talking about you. I know all of your generations.
But you know, as a board member, I'm privileged to have my grandchildren attending from the primary level to the elementary, lower L, to children into upper L and into middle school, and then to round it all out, the 28-year-old daughter is now a teacher's assistant at the school. So I get to take this question because I have 3 generations.
Well, that's why I'm looking. I know, but I would have said that 3 generation now because, okay.
But it is a pleasure and a privilege to be a part of the board because truly when you think about the primary goal of Montessori education, that's to prepare the whole child for their reach and full potential in all areas of life. And from an executive standpoint, the self-discipline, the independent, the global thinking, being a collaborator and a leader. These are all aspects of the Montessori curriculum. And I have seen it evidenced in our children from the 8th grader that will actually now be in high school to the upper L student who, through MTSS and other resources, now has a 504 plan, but is being executed right here in the classroom, and we're seeing her excel, to the grandson that has been diagnosed with ADHD, but now through this innovative way of learning and allowing him to learn at his own pace, has got, out of a scale of 1 to 3, has all 3s and is excelling at mathematics. So we have found ways of helping kids meet their own potential while existing in a classroom that then they allow it to turn around and help their peers. So I'm a proud parent
I know
sitting
you
on
are.
this board.
I know that you are, and you always have been a proud parent. And you said 28 years old, your baby's 28? As a teacher assistant there now?
So my oldest, my daughter is a 28-year-old, and her two children actually attend the school. And then it's kind of fun to watch the dynamics because the 8th grader can't get away with anything because her older sister is in the classroom. But to be able to see that, yes, it's really great to be able to have her return home from having been away with the military and her husband, now to come back and be a part of the community and giving back. So, yes.
Wonderful. Well, you know how well, I wasn't giving them away, but I think you know how well we know you and what you've done for our community, and we thank you. We thank you. Thank you so very much.
I would just add, too, I think all of us are parents of children at the school, and I think, one of the things that makes this community of people so unique is the amount of vested interest that the parents have in making the school successful. I think when Sherilyn mentions the grassroots organization, it's been a tremendous thrill to be around a group of parents who are so passionate about education, passionate about rolling up their sleeves and doing whatever it takes to make this school be successful. Coming from the start in a strip mall in Winter Garden to an 18-acre multiple building campus in Ocoee has just been amazing. My two children attend the school. All of the board members have children that attend the school, and we're here. Each board member commits to a 3-year stint on this board, and we all intend to see this project through and to see our children continue to flourish in this system, and we absolutely love it. So thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Ms. Flynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And to the board there, it does sound like you have a really solid proposal and a solid school that you have operating. In regard to that grassroots support, I wanted to ask you, on your website for your K through 8, it says that parents are required, I guess per family, to commit to 20 hours of volunteer work, that your expenses run more than a traditional school, and so that's, I guess, how you help with that funding gap. So I just wanted to talk a little bit more about that. I mean, I'd love for us to be able to require 20 hours. The requirement for charter schools is different, but what happens if a family can't meet that obligation?
Well, it's very similar. This is Patrice, the principal. It's very similar to what everything we do, because we are so grassroots. I actually don't let that happen. And by that, what I mean is starting in January, because we use additions. Again, thank you, OCPS. We use additions. So starting in January, my office staff is tracking the logged hours, and we start reaching out to those families, and we make sure we have a Sign Up Genius system where we are adding all the time ways in which that they can volunteer. So we keep that messaging, and then through the emails, and then it gets down to like this time of the year, and it's really personal phone calls. And it really is just a matter of, I've been very creative with finding ways for them in the summer because, and this is the reason why, I had a parent last year who was having trouble with their hours. And I convinced her, because I'm pretty convincing, I convinced her to come in and try something. And we were having our grand opening for our groundbreaking. And she came in, and I will tell you, she wasn't really that happy when she was at the desk. She came to the wrong place. She didn't go to the new property. So she wasn't necessarily the happiest camper, but she was willing to come, willing to put in her time. And then Ms. Flynn, afterwards, even now, I get emotional because at the event, she was just beaming from just ear to ear. And afterwards, she made sure she came back into the office, and she just talked about, like, wow, how grateful she was that she had done that, because she just didn't really realize how important that connection to the school was. And that, for me, is my lesson, so that I don't allow my office staff to just say, well, we just email them, and if they don't respond, then we don't do anything. No, we beat it any way we can to make sure we pull them in, because it's not meant to be punitive. It's meant to really be more, you need this. You need to be a part of what we're doing. So that's kind of how we do it right now.
Okay, I appreciate that. So that requirement would be the same for this application as well, right? For the parents from the high school?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
That requirement's going to be the same? And do they sign a commitment form when they apply to the school?
We have a typical parent agreement, compact, that I used in my Title I school, that it's a little bit different because we're Montessori, and that's one of the ones that we include that they agree to.
And we're going to be developing, this is Sherilyn, we're going to be developing some additional opportunities for the high school parents, because when we had a meeting with our parents, a couple of meetings a couple weeks ago, and they suggested they were talking about the mentorship programs that they have at their workplace and how effective they were. And some of the parents who aren't even, we don't even have the high school yet, were offering to start a mentorship program for us. So it's a matter of identifying the strengths in our parent body and the stuff that our parents really love to do, and they get the children and now the young adults in the high school, when they see their parents taking such a vested interest in their education, giving up their free time to come in and be at their school, that shows the students so much about the value of education. And all of a sudden, there's my mom, there's my dad, right? And that, it makes a huge difference. And I just wanted to address, too, you asked a question about the difference in the funding for a charter school. And I think it's like we've done the math of 71 cents on the dollar, right? And how do we make up that gap? And we have, in the K through 8, 5 years ago, Philip? About 5 years ago, we started a program of direct giving from families who can afford it. And instead of going out and selling candles and wreaths and just getting a percentage from that and having our children go to door-to-door sales, we asked the families, how about just give up a latte to get a lot, is what we called it, right? $5, but all that $5 goes to the school, 100% of it. And so we were able to, in some years, get 100% participation. And sometimes it was $5, and sometimes it was $500. So our community understands what they have here and what an amazing education that it is, and what great stewards we are of their money, because we share those budgets in all of their Excel glory, and they're able to see where every dollar goes. We also have reached out to a lot of different partners, especially with the high school. We've been talking to a lot of different corporations, local, and so a couple national, to try to help support in ways of mentorship, in ways of obviously dollars, those types of things. And that's part of our process as well.
Well, that sounds great. And I couldn't agree with you more. Parent participation helps excel a child with their education. So let me just ask you this last question about that. Have you ever had anyone who said they were interested, but they couldn't commit to the 20 and they didn't sign up?
No, I haven't, because again, it gets down to, when we get down to those few parents, I'm very creative, and together we usually always can find something in some way that they can contribute. And obviously, Ms. Flynn, we do have, certainly in that mix, you have people who, can't come to the school physically, but we still find ways for them to be able to contribute.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Flynn. Ms.
Thank you,
Gould.
Mr. Chair.
Of course, I know quite a bit about your school, and your reputation has been phenomenal in the community, and you have really been a great, unique model for people to choose, and I appreciate that. I have a few questions, some of which, you talked about an internal economy with high schoolers, and I'd like to hear a little bit more about how that will work. I think that feeds right into the innovation side of it. I'll give you all three questions so you have them. And then I know that the DERS model is all about continuous improvement, and your goals for the students are kind of continuous improvement goals when you look at that. But how do the kids, one, how do you feed that or keep that alive? Because it's very easy to just do what you're doing once you get it down. And you're still young as an organization, and every year you've been adding, so it's always new, but at some point that will plateau, probably not till 22, but, how do you keep that alive? And then it kind of ties to the student goals. How do the kids know where they are within those goals, and how are those goals set? So those are really my 3 questions.
I'll take the first one. The Innovation Incubator, that is part of it, right? Part of it, in the first couple of years, if we're going to have students helping each other, like let's say one student wants to be a graphic designer and they're a fabulous artist, and another student is inventing a replacement for the water bottle, right? But they don't have those graphic design skills, and they want to be able to help each other on their projects. So there has to be an exchange, a trade. And my bachelor's is in finance, and I have to tell you, I hated my economics classes. It was not fun learning about micro and macroeconomics. Sorry, our treasurer, I'm just apologizing to him. But the point is that nobody really wants to read about Keynesian theory. But if you say you get to develop your own economy where you can trade with your friends and improve these projects that you're doing for your individual businesses, wait, what? And all of a sudden it's real to them. All of a sudden they have to look at other economies around the world and say, what are they doing? How are they trading? How do they do this? And where did it start? Like some student, right, now they don't even know that it used to be a barter system. I was talking to my children about the other day, like, wait, people just traded corn for something else? And so making it real and alive for them, and they get to, obviously they're just not going to be able to choose whatever. It's guided by the students and by the teachers. But we can enrich that learning of what world economies are like, and Bitcoin, and do they want to go to a paper? Do they want to do something electronic? What do they want to do for their school? And then they're going to get to execute that, right? Here's another thing. If it fails, right? If it just does not work, that is a beautiful, wonderful lesson that sometimes all the best planning, and when you go to execution, sometimes it doesn't quite work like you thought. So then they can take it back and go, okay, well, let's test and adjust. Let's see a better way to do this for our team. Yeah, and so their financial literacy, we have my friend Karen here, who is one of the very first designers of the Montessori High School Charter. In 2012, we started that, and she's a financial literacy guru. And that is one of the best ways for them to learn is to do, right? And then the other question, we've got Jeremy and Patrice.
So your second question about continuous improvement, I love hearing that. At my work, we have the term Kaizen, to continuous improvement, figure out a way, turn the prism, the whole bit. But from the early stages of going from our first iteration to Innovation Montessori, you'd be amazed at how long 7 grown adults can talk about a name of a school. But at the end, there were a lot of names provided that kind of go along with that nature, Lakewood Avenue, something about trees, forest. And Innovation Montessori won out because we wanted that to be the driving force behind whoever is in our chairs 25 years from now, to constantly reflect on where Innovation Montessori, we by our very nature have to look at things differently tomorrow than we did today. Another way that I think where you're talking about that plateau, where I think some of us are looking forward to that plateau to some degree.
I was going to say, when you said that, I was like,
I can also say that we're trying to create partnerships within the community that won't let that happen. Just today I was speaking with someone from the University of Hartford in Connecticut who has a college program there where they built a school on campus that's a magnet Montessori school, and they built it so that they can watch their students teach, so that they can evaluate without interrupting the behavior of the class. And they're doing a lot of research within this method. And so they're talking to us about not just staffing and different ways that we need them, but they need us to continue research. And when you partner with organizations like that, you're continuously going to be questioned and turn over every stone and find a new way to look at it so that we can do the research that makes tomorrow better and that makes all schools better based on that research. So we're trying to build that in so it isn't an option.
And then as far as the students setting their goals, that has a lot to do with putting on my teacher hat, when I was working with project-based learning as well. You have to do it with scaffolding, a lot of scaffolding around the rubrics in the very beginning. Rubrics are probably going to be teacher designed. Now, there's going to be plenty of students that are going to come from the already existing K-8 school, so they will have had practice with this, because eventually you would like that the students could look at the standards and then develop their own rubrics, but that doesn't happen, right away. And they have to have targets, because we know the research shows that project-based learning is effective with learning gains when they have very clear targets that they have to meet. And that's where obviously we need the teacher, really helping them have those targets and having that conversation around those rubrics that they're going to be developed. Does that make sense?
It does. A follow-up question to that. So when you do have a student that's not quite hitting those gains and they recognize it, how do you partner with parents in that? And what are some of your resolutions for helping them along?
Well, and as we all know, is that, sometimes it's a good resolution and we can work with the parents side by side, whether or not it's through MTSS, that process. And again, can't say enough about OCPS and their support with that. But once in a while, and especially with the adolescents, you start to recognize after having multiple meetings with parents that it's maybe not going to come from that parent as much as you want it and as much as you know that that's where the most bang for the buck is. But that's when then the teachers take on that mentoring, and where we invest. And again, a nod to my board, we invest in a social worker that actually is trained in therapy and social work, even though she doesn't practice therapy at school. But she works a lot with our middle schoolers right now. We've had lots of conversations what it's going to look like in high school. She does peer counseling with them because she does have a certification. Mm-hmm. So we recognize that we are looking for a very robust mentorship in a different way than the entrepreneurial part of it, but socially and emotionally, that, some kids are just, and that's part of the reason why, keeping it 600 to 800, even though that sounds like a lot, we're hoping that we can still be able to reach out to those kids that are struggling, and need more guidance from an adult that they may not get it at home.
That's great. Very well thought out. And I love your branding, too. So.
Thank you.
Anything further? Ms. Roman? No. I'm just curious, how many schools do you have now? Just the one, or I know you're applying in Lake, but are there additional schools as well? You said something a little bit ago that
we just have the IMO is the K through 8, but we also operate we call the CASA, which is our pre-K program. It's 3- and 4-year-olds.
Okay, on the same site, though?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah. There's about 78 students in there.
Okay. So when what made me ask that is, I may have misunderstood you, I probably did, but when you alluded to the fact that you were perhaps looking for a CEO, mm-hmm. Was that just for the K-8 and the new high school, or for the nonprofit, or to help? That's what made me ask.
No, that we get confused too. We create a lot of charts with a lot of bubbles, and so we have the CASA, and then the IMO, which is the K through 8. We're looking to add the IMHS, obviously, the IMP in Lake. So that would mean we'd have 3 schools with growing populations, and we see the need that with multiple campuses and multiple schools, that to continue a truly volunteer parent-run board leaves us too susceptible to any bad year, without the continuity and consistency that 5 years from now, if we all turn over in our positions, they won't know what this was, and we won't know what today was like to have perspective. So if we can add a position and still be financially responsible, or financially solvent, it adds the continuity so that as an organization, as we try to grow the brand into multiple campuses and multiple schools, we know it gives us a higher level of success.
Okay. And that CEO would be an employee of the nonprofit?
Yes.
Corporation, okay.
Would report to the board of directors.
Okay. And I noticed in looking through the legal documents, and there's also, I don't remember the structure, you have it in an LLC or something of that nature for the facility that rents a facility back to the nonprofit. Who are the principals in that LLC or that company?
Ellie, I don't
If
know.
This board.
Yeah.
Is it the same board? Are they
It
one and
is
the
the same
same?
board.
Okay.
And there's no functionality there, right? They're all going to be LLCs underneath Innovation Montessori. That's how the structure will look like.
Okay.
We're working with our attorney right now to process that, right? So we're going to have, each one will be an LLC. Everybody reporting to this board, though. This board is the governing board to make sure that the consistency is there across all of those lines. And that's how we handle the CASA right now. They're an LLC as well.
Okay.
And
Is
the
Jeff
PTO.
Badgley still your attorney?
No, he's not. He's
Okay.
not. We see them every so often. But Melissa Arnold, the Arnold Law Firm, they're out of Jacksonville.
Okay.
They're our main charter attorneys. Yes.
And your board, is it the 8 individuals that we have bios for, or are there more to it? Are there 8 on your board
Yeah,
currently?
everybody's. Yes, 8. They're all here, and they're all
Okay.
here. Yeah, I was like, and everybody's here. Yeah, it's the ones that you have in there. Mhm.
Just those 8, though? That's, okay. Well, I do want to commend you on one thing. It's just personal opinion of mine, but we see so often truly local charters struggle, because this is tough stuff, as you know, being an experienced educator. Educating kids in this day and age is not perhaps what lay people perceive it to be. It's not what it was 50 years ago, perhaps. Especially in all the standards-based and education and accountability measures and all the requirements put upon us and you by the state. So, I just want to commend you all. In looking at the board, I always really try to go through who the governing board is, and it's nice to see a truly local board with local parents and businessmen and women serving on a board with a school that's functioning at a good level. So kudos for that.
Thank you.
All right, board members, anything else? Mrs. Gordon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It doesn't have to be Ms. Moore. Okay, I just need an explanation, because I always like to know what the others know. I'm a little concerned because we had the same questions, but I'll ask mine a little differently, because those were some of my concerns. You said that you have 8 board members sitting in the audience,
The 1, 2, 3, 4.
but they raised their hands in the back.
5 at the table, 3 behind.
Oh, just 3?
Yeah,
3 on the board?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just asking,
These are
was
the
there any reason why they didn't sit at the table?
Chair.
Because it wasn't long enough.
But next time, if you let staff know, we'll put extra, because you know why? Very seldom we get to meet the real board members. We never see them. We don't know who they are. And we always have 1 or 2 people speaking for the entire organization. And then you leave, and then you go to another county or another state, and then we don't see you anymore. So that's a problem when I don't see local faces. That bothers me when I don't see local people even earning the salaries. And that brings me to my next question, the day-to-day operation. How many, you said you have 3 schools. How many administrative staff, full-time, that will not have to leave campus will be at each of those individual schools? I'm just, you're not going, we have nothing to do with how you operate, but I'm just curious.
Well, right now, we have the 1 school, and
No, you said you had 3 schools.
The CASA is 2.
That's what you just.
we have the IMO, and that has a feeder CASA program, which is the pre-K,
The one that you was sharing with.
But that is the one campus, the one school I mean, in my head, I see it as one school, but CASA is a.
So it's a separate administrator. You have a different administrative staff running that?
No, it's
So
all on the
y'all
same
run that
campus
too?
as.
So who runs it?
Well, it's all
No,
under.
no, don't, please don't, just talk to me, please. I got it. I just wanted
Patrice
to
is the
brief
executive director.
On your information. I heard you mention director, and then I heard you say executive director, and then I heard school board, then I heard board of directors, and then I heard governing board. So
Okay.
what are you all going to call yourself? What are your potential call for the 3 different entities that you have, and then this one that you're proposing? Or is this would be a part of the 3? That's when she's shaking her head, but I'm looking directly at one person. I got
I hear
tunnel
you.
vision. I have tunnel vision right now.
I'm here with you, Kat.
Okay, that's all right.
We're here.
Okay, I have tunnel vision, totally. I want to know if you know your school.
No, without
Okay,
a doubt.
don't say that. I'm being honest. I'm not
No,
being rude.
without a doubt.
This is...
I want to
I'm
clarify
an
this too.
educator.
So.
I'm serious about children's life. Don't come and talk about what you're going to do for kids when you don't know. You can't tell us what you're really going to do because it's not written on our question sheet or it's not in the book. I want to know who will be running your school, because we have to vote in the next meeting if this goes through or not, even if you meet qualifications. But even, even what the state did, we may say, well, they had an excellent application and they've done great. And we've had that to come. We've had great schools, but when they came for the charter, they didn't do well. When we sent them back to get it together, they're one of our 8 charter schools right now. Okay? But I just want to know, I need to know about the administrator, the governing board, the school board, the board of directors. Then you had pointed in the back and say you had 3 more people sitting back there that should have been sitting up here at the table. I like the local people. That's where I am. And I've seen too many come in here, and they're not local. They don't even live here, let alone even try to put their kids in that school. But they come and they serve as administrator. They're the principal of that school. So I just need to know, I didn't see it in there, those, I don't know who is who.
Okay.
And I didn't get that. Like Bill said, we saw all the wonderful resume, okay?
Of course.
But they're probably not going to even connect hardly with the children. I'm just being honest. They'll be there maybe a couple of days, so doing what they need to do. Go ahead.
So our school is run by Patrice. She is our executive director. So anytime one of us had said a director of the school or an executive director, it's Miss Patrice.
So she'll only have one school she'll be responsible for. Are y'all going to have her run into the other campus too?
We add administration when it's financially prudent so that we have somebody overseeing Innovation Montessori.
Is that a yes or a no?
We add assistant principals or principals depending on the level and what year it is.
That's not what I'm asking. Just tell me what you're going to do, baby. Tell me what you're going to do.
We have one campus.
Okay.
One campus, and on that campus of 18 acres.
No. I need him.
Just him to
I'm not
answer.
finished here yet. Y'all got to know your stuff when you come in here, because I need to know that you know. And you've heard that a lot of times.
As an Orange County resident, I must say I very much appreciate turning the prism and making sure that the boards that come before you know their stuff.
They do,
very
because
much.
they come and they just say who they're going to be, and then when we go out there and check. Okay, I'm going to pull
We're
back.
all local, and we have one campus, and Ms. Patrice is...
You all are wonderful speakers, excellent. I'm not looking for wonderful speakers. I'm looking at who's going to run the ship. Okay. All right. So the school board, who's on the school board?
The governing board of directors.
So it's going to be called governing board, because I didn't see what you exactly was going to call. So the governing board is going to run the school, which would be like us, the school board. the policies and procedures. Okay. And then that executive director, which is quasi-principal administrator. Oh, Jesus. I don't know how you're doing it. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm being honest with you. I'm being honest with you. Because you're going to get kids from everywhere. I don't know how you're doing that. That bothers me. It's not in the book. It's just life situations. I constantly ask Dr. Jenkins for additional administrators to assist that principal in the school. And then now she's the executive director, which is a big job by itself. And then she's also going to be quasi-principal.
She's not on the governing board of directors. She is the executive director of the
See, that's
school.
what I'm trying to understand.
And she has an assistant principal, Kathy.
One.
And right now.
We currently have approximately 400 students enrolled.
I know, but you know you're going to get bigger.
Right. And,
Let's be real.
And the plans for IMO account for that with additional administrative support as we can afford it, so that it's with enrollment increases as well. Same thing with the IMHS.
All right, so your governing board, your head thing, like ours is John Q. Public, all of the public, then the school board, and then the superintendent, and then our cabinet. Yours would be governing board, then executive director. Okay, I was just trying to figure all that out in here. She's going to need help.
And we have that
Even
built
with
in.
400.
Thank you.
My school is very small, and I've been in very large schools. And with my school being very small, we've gone as high as 550, but everybody in that school is a behavior problem. And they're placed there by the courts and the school board because of the expulsion and the felons and everything else. You won't have that. But just handling even a small elementary school for us is a handful. And some of our small elementary schools, 500. And then you have mixed grades, and I know you kind of know what you're doing, but it's a different world now. And it's a different time, and if I don't tell you that as an educator, everybody walking in there is not going to be Harvard material, let alone Florida schools material. So, I mean, I'm just concerned about that aspect. And I do think you need to be aware of it. And I'm sure that you all are going to do a great job, because you have. But these are things that you really have got to look out for. Putting a lot on a couple of people to try to get a big job done, it ain't going to work for that school board, because you don't know what's going to happen, and you have to have your real plan in place so that you'll know where you're going. Okay? Because we've had some great charters to come. They did great elsewhere, but they had a hard time in Orange County. The only thing I think that you really have that's very, very positive for you, you are local. And I feel great that you came before us being local, and most of you that I know, you've been in Orange County for quite some time. And I say hats off to you, okay? So thank you for clearing up how your governing board is going to function, all right? Thank you.
Ms. Colbert.
Yes, I was just curious, your preschool, CASA, is that tuition-based, or how is that funded?
It's, the K-3 is funded by the parent. The K-4 is supplemented by the money from the state. But it's a full-day program at this point. We have built into our models to expand options on that. But in the beginning, to keep things, I don't want to say a little simpler, but so that everything flows correctly, it currently is a full-time or a full-day program.
Well, to bring this in for a landing on a lighter note, I'm dying to know, Ms. Moore, what Love First, BS Your Creditors So You Can Survive is all about. And yes, a script cell when you don't live in Hollywood is all about.
So,
If you the inside joke, that's on her resume. That's one of
It's
her
on my
4
resume.
publications.
Those were, when I lived in Los Angeles for a long time teaching, and I was also a writer and producer, and at the company I worked for, we launched a book publishing company. And we looked for catchy titles for those books, which it caught your eye, so we did our job, didn't we? And those books, one of them I was one of the writers, the other 2 I edited and published at the time. It was a long time ago, so it was when On Demand just first started, but it was definitely an educational process way back then, looking deep into the resume.
All right, well, thank you all for your presentation. We really
Thank you
appreciate
so
you coming
much.
down here.
We appreciate it, and we love being an OCPS school. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Bernier, will we pause for a moment to let the next group come up? Can we ask you something up here? Or Ms. Scott Sweeney?
I have a sign, so whatever. Thank God it's not 20.
Not a problem. Hey, how are you? Good. She went to the ladies' room. She'll be right back. Okay. Fine, how are you doing? And so, Central Florida. Okay, yeah, we'll just wait for Lorna.
We'll stand up for a while.
Say that again. Just signing sheet.
Oh, in the order that we're sitting, okay.
We need to sign this.
This, we're gonna sign it. Oh, just 2 seconds. You sounded just like her. That's odd. Okay. Okay.
I just put that word number.
Got it.
Yes, I guess so, right?
Yeah.
Because we're spending more than 5%.
I can just write my name. Don't want to break the rules.
I give you $5 for the good word and I still need sleep. They eat love.
Sure. You sit there. You're good. There's a mic right here. I know I need to stand for a minute.
Me too.
I did point that out.
Okay. You ready?
All right, everybody good? All right.
Thanks.
Dr. Bernier or Ms. Scott Sweeney?
He's getting names.
We'll give it a second.
Yeah. Well,
That's still
yeah,
great.
I changed it up on you on that one, sorry. It really is actually
Dr.
Flanders.
Bernier, next.
I need
trying
the
to
names from
diverse
Mrs.,
myself.
from Dr. Scott.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, we're bringing it in for a landing, as you say. The second applicant group in front of you today is from Central Florida Polytechnic Academy. They're proposing a K-8 school, and the board members in front of you are Gloria Esteban, William Carroll, Rowena Ramos, Lorna Lowe, and Karen Kavanaugh.
We're all yours. Welcome.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I'd like to begin by saying that I am a 39-year resident of Orange County. Not to date myself, but lived here for 39 years and have loved every minute of it. We thank you very much for allowing us the opportunity to be before you today presenting our charter. You may know or remember, Mr. Sublette, that you invited us to come back. You told us to go regroup a little bit on one end of our charter, that you liked it very much. We are the same board. We have been the same board. We've had no changes. We are all educators and business people. And that is basically our executive summary orated to you so that you could get a visual of what our intentions are with this charter. Lorna, you want to talk a little bit about it?
Sure. What I'd like to do is start with the fact that we did go back, we listened to what you had to say to us, and we went back and we made some modifications, particularly in the size of our school, how we're starting. We're going to start with K-5. We do want to open, be available to kindergarten through 5th grade, and to open our doors to a diverse student group. Ms. Kat Gordon, I would like to tell you that as public school teachers, retired and still in the classroom, we understand how hard it is with public school students. Been there and have done that. But we are, in most cases, high heels on the ground, okay? And,
Sorry, apologize.
Yes, Bill.
Except when the men do the high heels to raise money.
Oh,
That's right.
That's true.
Absolutely right.
That's
So
true.
we are very well aware of what we are going to be facing in the classroom, and the teachers that we will be hiring will also have to be fully aware, and we will be trainers since we have been in the classroom for a number of years. We will actually, one of our foundations is going to be the Universal Design for Learning. You had asked earlier, and thankfully, that other group was really, they were a great group, and they had some wonderful things to say. And some of the questions that you had asked, I would like you to know that we designed our school with a lot of those things in mind. Universal Design for Learning, as you know, even Orange County is using that in the classrooms. It originally was designed for your exceptional student education, but we find that in today's world, we have so many students with so many different learning styles that it is appropriate for all students. With the type of curriculum we will have, being a STEM school, we are going to be technology and digital curriculum driven. So all of our students will have computers, technology in the classroom, very rich in that. But the Universal Design for Learning actually lends itself quite nicely to that technology and to the diversity and versatility in the classroom with various learning styles and with teaching styles. It's actually, the Universal Design for Learning is going to allow teachers to address all the different students in the classroom, and it's like built-in differentiation. So between that and the project-based learning, because we also know UDL and project-based go hand in hand there, that students will have more opportunity to be successful and to learn standards and skills in the classroom across the board.
We're out of time. I'm sorry that
so
we haven't
sorry.
given the rest of our board a chance to talk, but we have someone on our board that can represent every area on that video that you saw, from community outreach and etiquettes to guidance, counseling, career paths, even for 8th graders, they're starting to look even then, to exceptional learning on the other end, and actually even addressing those needs of the teachers when it comes to organizing so that their voice is heard. We represent all of that. So we are here to answer your questions about our document and what our plans are for Orange County. So we thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Mrs. Robinson? Anything? Want to start at the other end today? Okay. Ms. Gould?
A couple questions for you. Have you found a location yet?
We have identified 2 or 3 places, and they're smaller than what we were looking. We're not building. We're found some small areas, but most people really want to see a document in hand before they make a commitment to us. And I actually agree with that, because otherwise we would be spending money that the
Right.
board didn't have.
Right.
So we're still looking in the West Orange County area. That's kind of the closest, it's the most familiar for me, and she drives here every day. And Gloria, although you live in Altamont, she's all over the place, and it's very
There's a
close for them.
shortcut now.
Pardon me, yeah. She was late, but she was held up in traffic.
Not to
today.
here, there's no shortcut.
So
But in West
we
Orange
have looked at several,
Okay.
yes, we have been actively seeking a spot.
Is that, where in West Orange County? West Orange County is a big place.
It is a big place, kind of in the Horizons West area.
Okay.
Okay,
So
that's
you're
Stony
looking-
Brook. We still will.
Like a storefront? Is that what you're looking at?
We've looked at that.
Okay.
Yes, we have. We've talked to some of the local developers that are putting things up now, looking to start in that way. I'd still like to have some green space, because little guys really need to be outside and have that opportunity without being on asphalt. But those are the areas that we're looking at. And we've looked at collaborating with a couple of the local country clubs to allow us opportunities to be near there and use some of their space.
Great.
So,
You talk about, I understand the STEM focus, and I'm very familiar with Etta Keys, and Barbara was a friend. And,
yes.
How do you see that Etta Keys program integrating into the STEM and your daily curriculum? How do you really see that unfolding? Because you brought it out in the video, it said your application multiple times.
Yes. Oh, would you like to address that? Sure, you
I'd
hear.
like to address
Let me
that.
just pass that microphone down.
Oh, okay. Sometimes I don't need one. I have a loud voice. All right. So your question is, how can I see the 2 Etta Keys and the STEM working together?
Yeah, how does that
Okay.
really get unfolded through the curriculum delivery? So how will that?
Okay. Well, number one, STEM-related professions, they have a reputation that they're they work by themselves, that they're independent, that they're not very good team players. And a program like Keys will teach them about respect, respecting one another's, respecting each other's opinion, bringing civility, agree to disagree, all those different types of aspects. And the other thing that I think that it'll bring, and Kat, I heard you bring it up previously, is that what I plan on doing is bringing mentors to come into the classroom. And the thing that I loved about what you just said, I have experience. I mean, I've taught Keys at juvenile detentions. I've taught to foster kids. I've taught at almost every school in Orange and Seminole County. Okay, Keys, certified to teach, and continue to do that.
Okay.
But
I know all right, so are you using it as it's taught now as a breakout, or is it folding into the curriculum?
It will be both, because Keys is going to need to be, once it's taught, okay, so you will need to have it as a breakout session initially. But then once those students have some of those skills under their belt, they will be able to translate those skills into the classroom when they're working with teams, when they're waiting their turn, when they're greeting a partner and maybe their idea isn't the idea that collaboratively the group has chosen someone else's work. So it's teaching those kids those soft skills that they need early enough in life so that when they get to be a little bit older and they're getting out there in high school and looking for jobs, they have some of those soft skills already built in because they're using them every day. And they're using them every day in the classroom, and they're practicing them. They're practicing them when they're greeting their friends. They're practicing them when they're waiting their turn in the classroom, when they are addressing someone who might not otherwise be very kind. They're seeking out children who are loners, and they're looking to bring them into the fold. So I think it is all integrated.
And can I add one other thing too, Pam, is that in the Keys program, we have measurements that we keep. So we give evaluations to the teachers, we give them to the parents, and then also to the administration to see if they've seen a difference and where they may see gaps, where they might see improvements. So we have those already in place where we can provide that feedback.
I'll let others know.
Sure. Okay. Ms. Flynn, do you have anything? She might have.
Hold on, I had to get myself off mute. Yes, I did. I believe that you are, and thank you, Mr. Chair. It looked like the calculation for your ESC population was anticipated around 17%. So I wanted just to make sure that you felt it's fully staffed to meet the needs of that population. I feel that when there's transition in and out of some of the newer charter schools, it tends to be with our special needs children. So I just wanted to ask you about that and to ask how you came up with that figure, and do you feel that you're fully staffed?
Yes, we used the Orange County figures. That's how we based ours on, and that is how we calculated based on.
Get close to the
Can you pull the mic just a little bit closer so Ms. Flynn can hear you? Otherwise, she won't be able to hear you.
All right.
Thank you.
Maybe it's okay. Now it's on. Maybe I can.
I can hear you now.
Okay, I'm sorry. We did use, I don't know if you have the document in front of you, but it's on page 54 in the document. And what we did was we used Orange County figures, the surveys for Orange County, to come up with our percentages of the ESC students and the grade level and the breakdown. Whether they were ESC, whether they were, level 1s, 2s, and so forth within that categorizing, if you will. But we do believe it will be a true reflection of what we may see also. Now, obviously, we won't know exactly until students start coming into and enrolling into the school, what our actual needs will be. But we feel that we will be prepared with the staffing, with looking for qualified ESE teachers as we are interviewing. I do know that
Dr. Telfer on staff.
Yes, and we do have Dr. Telfer on staff, who unfortunately could not be here tonight. Not that you may remember, but you have met her before. So I do believe that we will be prepared for the percentage of students that we will get in the district. And if we have some surprises, then we fully intend, as it says in our document, to put together our staffing development, our staff team, and also consult with Orange County for placement.
Okay, thank you. And will you also have a required volunteer hour commitment?
No, ma'am.
Hours? No, okay. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Flynn. Mrs. Gordon.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Now, I hope that you all do not plan to work Gloria and some of the other teachers that you have this hard, community outreach, counseling, career path, exceptional learning, and taking care of the needs of teachers along with the etiquettes. Come on! You heard me tell the other charter. Even though we are super women, and we could do that, Gloria and I could do that. She taught me well. She taught me well. I could not have made it, I'm going to be honest, without her. She is an expert in that area, and she excels at all. But no man is an island.
She knows how to find help.
Well, that's what I know.
Okay.
Okay, so you need to clear that out, because you said we have one person on staff.
Well, I meant, we have someone on staff that works with children in the Tri-County area, and she is in charge, and she is capable and able to help us find the mentors and the counselors and the things that we need for those specific
Okay,
kids.
are these going to be paid positions? Because I
No.
did hear the other charter mention that they're using our additions. Oh,
No,
Lord
no.
have mercy. We need to charge a little fee for that. But Gloria's a master of that. She's a master of that. I'm still concerned about the real world. And I know most of you are educators and we know each other. I'm still concerned about the real world. We talk a good game. But if you're not in that building and you don't hear the morale of those teachers, everything up here with this board looks good, but they're not in that classroom every day. They're not calling the roll. I used to tell Mr. Blocker, when the last time you called the roll? I did. I would always have to go to him when it came to our negotiations for staff and teachers and the amount of work that you're asking them to do with the short, right now we are short-staffed, okay, because everybody's loosed up right now and they're going where they want to go, and then everybody's pumping kids into your school, and they're coming from everywhere now, and everybody's trying to get over before they just shut DACA down. So you're dealing with that. Most of the district is dealing with that. You will be dealing with that, being a public charter school.
Absolutely.
Okay? And I don't like that they kind of added public charter, because you're not under the same guidelines, and I do want to say that. You have guidelines that a public school does not have. So it's not a level playing field, but yet you are saying you're going to do all these things like the other people said, and I know the real deal, and all three of you that I know, I don't know the other backgrounds, but all three of you that I know, you know the real deal of the day-to-day. And you got to be real to yourself, and I do not really see those provisions because you can't write them. You just can't write them. So I don't know if you had a backup, and that's what I wrote down, because of a lot of things you talked about. Technology, I'm dealing with that every day. They gave us all of these computers and laptops. What's your backup plan that I did not see in here? When you don't have enough bandwidth to keep those computers operating, what kind of curriculum do you have that would take be able to get those standards done when that technology that you talked about, that digital divide, doesn't work. I really didn't see that, but no, I'm just giving you food for thought. I'm not going to make you answer.
Okay.
Because I know that you are educators and you're teachers. It's not in there. It's just come with common sense. All the three, I'm sorry.
All of us.
All of the, you taught before.
40 years.
Then you know what I'm talking about. I'm not, this is not the choir.
Yeah.
You don't
We
have
dealt with
that.
it. I run a technology school now. It's been a technology
Then you know
school
what I'm
for
going
7
through.
years.
I'm the librarian.
100%.
I'm the librarian, and those kids got to get on iReady every day,
Right.
all day long. I got to get back up and forth to the science lab all day long. You don't have that many people. You got to always have those kids covered. So if you're running off, going over here to get your STEM tech and your digital divide program going, and your UDL and all that other stuff going, I still don't see it. I don't think you really see it, because it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be a perfect day. We didn't have a perfect day today. And we had a cold pink today. We couldn't even believe it. Because we end up with 45 new kids today
Oh, my, yeah.
from Orange and Osceola County. And they think they run the school. So they don't really know us. So guess what happened? All of our plans had to change.
Yep.
You got to have a backup plan for all these good things. That computer is not going to work every day. It
No,
won't come on.
it isn't.
And these kids today, they are so, when you all think about, oh, this is going to be rosy, it will not be rosy. And you know it. And I have to say it to you, because just because you say you're going to do the Polytechnic, it doesn't come out like that. I have yet to see a perfect. And look what happened even with YouTube. I mean, look what's going to become with Facebook and all these little technical things that they thought it would work. You don't have to answer. I'm giving my mom a lecture.
I know.
I got to give it because you're
Okay.
teachers.
And I'm a teacher too. That's why I'm saying
I
we
know.
got a backup plan, because we're not just doing technology. We're doing
No,
writing.
I know.
They're going
I
to
saw,
practice writing.
Can you hold off 1 minute?
Oh,
You don't
yeah.
have to defend.
I'm not.
You don't have to defend. You've already done your part. I'm giving you my part. Okay? Because I'm the one got to vote.
That's true.
The 7 other people have to vote. I got to know, you heard me, you were sitting over there, that I know that you know that you're not going to have a perfect day. But you're going to have good days. But what are you going to do on those days when Johnny little computer didn't work fast enough? That happened to us today. This didn't work. Pow. Because it didn't work.
Yeah.
These kids are fast. And when you got to stop, what are you going to put in the front of them immediately when it stopped? This is our backup lesson. We do that, but it took us 3 years to get it down pat. Okay? Just some wisdom, because you're the Polytech. Don't let me walk in there one day and see the children running all over the place, because this stuff don't work. Okay? So basically now, and you did hear me talk about the Marzano.
Yes.
With the other, that was really your
Danielson.
question. But then I heard them mention that they're going to use the evaluation system of the charter school.
Right.
What are you all going to use? The same thing?
No, ma'am. We're using Charlotte Danielson.
Okay.
And her, actually, the Universal Design for Learning and Charlotte Danielson have merged into an evaluation and performance tool for teachers. So
Okay.
that they're learning and using the UDL philosophy and format, and then they are being evaluated in that as well, and learning how to develop lesson plans based on the UDL.
Okay, now I'm familiar with both of those plans, and you're in Orange County, so you know what we use here.
Marzano, yes, ma'am. I'm
Yes.
trained in that as
So
well.
you know the conflict you're going to have with your staff already. You're going to get teachers that have been under the evaluation system, which they don't like, okay? And then you're going to be under either one of them they don't like. But we have to have
They
something.
don't like evaluation.
Okay, all right. I'm just a little concerned about that. Now, you heard me about the question about the money.
Right.
And the assessment, and how you plan to pay for that. So That's, I'm going to let you address, and then that would be it for me, Mr. Chairman, once they address that. Okay?
So,
The cost of your Danielson, and now you're merging, so I'm sure that both of those companies are going to charge you. Marzano charges a lot. So I just need you to let me know what you will be using and what are the costs, and then that will be associated with, now you have a merging assessment there. And then where did you put it in the budget?
well, it's already an evaluative tool out there. And very similarly to what the counties and the state use, other than the training pieces, most of Marzano is out there available for schools to use as evaluative pieces.
He doesn't put
It's gonna
everything out
be in-
there, though. We have to pay. We pay big time to go to his meetings.
Right, for the trainings.
Yes, so
ma'am.
that's where I'm
She's
asking.
already been trained.
And
No, don't. She can't train me. And I'm saying me because if I'm your teacher, everybody needs to be trained.
absolutely, and we have addressed professional development in the training of the evaluative tools in there with UDL, but it would be more along the lines of the trainer in training, okay? Train the trainer is some of the concepts they have out now, where you send key people for the initial training, and then they can come back and teach your building level.
okay,
We did
but-
that in our county, and we called them ambassadors.
Okay, but I heard, let me clear this up.
Okay.
I'm sorry that, your name again, I'm sorry.
I'm Rowena.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
you had the beautiful picture right there.
Oh, thank you.
That was a beautiful picture. Okay, did I hear you say that she's trained in Marzano?
Ann Danielson, she is a
Yes,
trained
but you all
trainer.
will not be using Marzano.
No, but
So
she's
don't.
also trained in Danielson.
But no, I'm not even worried about, when you all said that, when she said it's a merger now, you don't even bring it up. Your
Okay.
teachers will throw a book at you, and I'm serious about it. You're either doing one or the other, or you're doing the merger.
Well, when we spoke, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
When I spoke Marzano, that's mainly in the strategies that teachers can incorporate in their classroom to assist in their teaching. They have something else in their toolbox for those Plan Bs and Plan Cs that they may have to pull out, and even in Plan A, if they're trying to get a concept across. The evaluative tool is going to be Danielson. But again, it's been my experience in Danielson and Marzano, essentially since they actually started out together. They did eventually break apart, but their systems are very similar in their domains and what they are looking for in the domains and what you are teaching to your, training your teachers in.
Where are you going to get your workforce from?
Excuse me, ma'am?
Your workforce, where will they be coming from?
The workforce? Well, we have considered the new graduates out of colleges, marketing to them, reaching out to those teachers, even retired, looking for the retired in. It might be a little bit difficult for us with that teacher who is 10 or 15 years into the system because they already have a retirement and things that they may not want. But if we are looking for new teachers who are already digital natives, if you will, and technology is not a frightening tool to them, we are going to be reaching out to those universities and inviting them to check out our STEM school with its technology-rich environment. And that's how we will start our staff. is with
That's a great-
teaching
that's a great
teachers,
recruiting
and that
area.
we will be able to mold and
Okay, good. That's good, because I would like to know, the type of, where you're looking and projecting, because with you being digital, you're going to need a digital wizard.
Yes.
Because, the kids can really teach it themselves. They
It's
can
true.
teach it. If you give them the curriculum, they probably could do it. And they probably will be doing it knowing them, because they do it everywhere I've seen it happen. Okay, so do you have everybody you need in place if this is passed? I'm just asking.
Teaching staff?
Mm-hmm.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
We haven't
I'm just
interviewed.
asking.
Yeah,
'cause
no, ma'am.
Just to see how far ahead, because you had a little time to plan when Mrs.
Oh, we've been
Sublette
planning.
back.
We've talked to quite a few people, but we have not offered anyone any positions, and that wouldn't be fair to them to ask them.
So I'm going to ask you the
consider-
same question. Who's going to head it up, and what do you have, a governing board, a board of director? You're going to be called, some people were called school board, believe it or not. So
Well, we are called the governing board.
so you're the governing board?
Yes, ma'am, we're the governing board.
Okay.
And we will transition to the permanent board, and then
Will you have
hire-
a salary?
No.
No.
Oh, okay, I have to ask.
Right.
There were people that got a salary that
No.
came in here and answered all of our questions, looking beautiful,
Yeah, no salary.
and they end up getting quite a bit. Okay,
But we will hire administrative staff.
administrative.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. They will
All
be
right.
there on the campus.
Okay,
every
thank
day.
you so very much. Thank you, Mrs. Sublette. Thank you, board members.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gordon. Couple questions. Apple Core Development.
Yes.
And is that your company, Ms. Ramos?
Yes.
And will Apple Core Development, will it develop your campus? And will it, what's the
No.
proposed relationship between that and the school?
None.
None? In the beginning, do you intend to lease or to, what do you?
Lease. Well, that's what we're looking for now. We're looking to lease and hopefully renovate. And then once the school is built up enough, then we will look to find a piece of property and build, as other charters have done.
And do any of the board members currently own any property that's leased by a charter school in Florida, Central Florida?
I own a piece of property.
That's
That's
leased.
leased.
Which charter school leases
It is Matter Brighton Lakes in Osceola County.
Okay.
That wasn't the original intention, but it's because my goal would have been to run that charter the same way, but it didn't work out that way. So I ended up being a property owner.
Okay. But it's run by a separate entity, by a nonprofit?
Correct, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Through a charter grant by Osceola County School Board?
Correct.
Okay. What's the name of that charter school?
Matter Brighton Lakes.
Okay. But you're not involved in the operations?
Not at all.
of that? Okay. And does anybody on your founding board intend to become the principal, executive director, whatever you're going to term it, of the new school?
No, not that no.
Okay. One thing I was curious about, just because we don't typically see this, that it states somewhere in there that the founding board will dissolve after electing the first governing board. Why is that? Why are you going to dissolve after
Well,
the grant of a
we're just
charter?
transitioning. I think that's probably just the word when Lorna was typing. So we're just transitioning to the permanent board.
Do all 5 of you intend to still be involved with the new school and the new board? I think that would be
Yes.
important to me, at least,
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
perhaps other members of the board.
Yep.
Okay. Central Florida Preparatory School, I noticed a couple of you have involvement with that. Is that a private school?
It is a 501c3. It is a private school, yes.
Where are
And
they
I'm on the board
located?
of directors. It's in Ocoee.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that school.
Yeah.
Or-
It's very small, about 300 students. So,
And will you all remain involved with that school?
well, I'm on the board of directors, but I'm typically not there. The school has had the same principal now for 17 years. So, well, she's Gomez now, but she's been the principal at that school. So
Are
I
you
wasn't
the-
there today.
Are you still, Lorna, are you
Yes,
the
that would be me.
assistant director still?
Yes, I am currently.
Is that sort of the equivalent of assistant principal, or
Well, I do
what is a director?
administrative duties, work with some of the international students. And I wear a few hats. I am in the classroom,
Okay.
teaching.
And you're, Ms. Ramos, the director?
Yes.
Okay, is that the equivalent of a principal, or is that equivalent
No,
of a
that's
member of
the
the board of
equivalent of the
directors?
person who makes sure that the budget works.
Okay.
So,
Do they have the equivalent of a principal there, an educational leader?
Yes, there's a principal on staff,
Okay,
and
what's
she's there
that?
doing the day-to-day. She does the day-to-day operations of the school and acts as the principal. She hires the staff, she does some professional development, but she does the guidance. She's the principal.
Okay.
She does what a principal does.
And Ms. Lowe, are you then the assistant principal, or are you the equivalent of Ms. Ramos, an assistant director, more on the financial governance side?
I don't have, the only financial pieces that I have any involvement in is with international students, because, and that is, I work with the office manager. We talk to the students and their parents, but as far as that, no, I have nothing to do with the money of the running of the school.
Okay,
in that
you're not the assistant principal. of
No,
the school.
I'm not.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get.
Yeah,
You
not
know, when
the
you get in the private school arena, they don't always call their principals principals. They don't always
Right.
call their
Correct.
assistant principals
Correct.
assistant principals.
I'm the director because
Be
that was the
headmaster, it
title
can be
that I took
director.
over when my late husband passed away. So I took over that title as the chair on the board, and so, and director of the school. So I have the financial responsibility. I oversee, there's a business manager that does it, and he makes sure that the accountant has the books, and then they present that to me. So I'm not I don't sit at a desk, well, I do sit at a desk and crunch a lot of papers, but it has nothing really to do with the day-to-day operations of that school.
And how many students, Ms. Rowe, does that school have?
That has about 300,
Okay.
little
And does
less,
that,
maybe.
as far as you know, is that school going to remain open after, let's say you get a charter from us for the Polytechnic?
The school can
Will-
remain open because even if I retired and backed out of that, which is, what I tried not to allude to before because you got me on radio. So I've been positioning myself out of there for the last
I guess
several
what I'm
years.
trying to figure out, not to be cryptic about it,
That's
but
okay.
will
And then Sandy
Central
can
Florida-
continue to run the
Let me get my question
school.
out if you don't mind, please.
Pardon me?
Let me get my
Oh,
question
sure,
out
sure.
if you don't mind, please. Will Central Florida Polytechnic Academy, to just be very simple about it, will it assume the facility that the preparatory school is in now? That's what
No.
I'm trying to figure out.
They're
Will it
completely separate.
succeed the preparatory school? No.
No,
Okay, so as far as you know, the preparatory school intends to remain open?
yes,
Okay,
even if I'm not there,
okay.
and a new director goes in place.
Yeah, I'm just trying to,
Yeah.
and
Because I
y'all are
have no
smart
financial
cookies.
gain from Central Florida Prep.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out
Oh,
if
okay.
the charter school is a way to parachute in and
Oh,
assume the role of the preparatory school
No.
as a public school entity for what may be a struggling private school. That's what I'm
No.
trying to get to the bottom of.
no, not at all.
That's not the intention.
It is
Okay.
not the intent at all.
Okay. Ms. Coburn, thank you.
So, thank you, Chair Sublette. I think you went down the path that I was going on. So just a couple more questions in that arena. So, Rowena, you leased the property in Osceola to the charter school, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then earlier you said you run a technology school now. Is that Central Florida Preparatory
Well,
School?
that's the technologies. I have involvement with it, yes. So I was instrumental in helping bring technology to that school, yes.
Okay. So that's what I want to ask a couple more questions about is what experience that this founding board has in acquiring, developing schools, and do any of you have any experience with other charter schools?
No. And I've not ever acquired a developing school before. I acquired Central Florida Prep because my husband passed away. And so I took over the helm of that school. And it doesn't need me to run. When I am not there, which is what my goal is to be retired from there, it is a 501c3. There's no gain to me in any way, shape, or form, the school. My only interest in seeing the school continue is that it would have something to do with my late husband's legacy and for my children's sake. But for me, it is not necessary. I have property, and I'm okay. So I have volunteered for the last 20 years, working with schools all over the state, helping them become accredited, and I spend a lot of time out doing volunteer work, which is where my heart is. I enjoy doing it, which is why I enjoy this. I wasn't even intending to own a piece of property in Osceola County, but I ended up doing that.
Okay, so none of you intend to be the school leader, the executive director or principal of the school? And you said if the application is approved, you will dissolve as the founding board and then become the governing board?
Become the governing board, and then there'll be a hired principal and...
And do you have a timeline for hiring a principal? I didn't see that in the application.
I think there was. I think once we have if we are approved, then I think, here it is, right here, opening timeline. It's on page 110. Let's see. I'm just having to look down the list here to find out when the principal would be open. Staff orientation is in August, so that's not it. Employee fingerprinting, so it's got to be before June. Staff planning. So I do not see, I know we had Lorna, I know that there was a principal hired. So, but I don't see it on the actual timeline. So let me take a look at the.
Well, it would have to be in the marketing.
It's on the marketing recruiting phase. So during the marketing recruiting phase is when we would hire the principal, because they would need to be there to be the face of the school, actually. People want to meet the principal. I mean, they'd love to meet the board and the backup team, but people want to know who the principal is. So I just have to find where that is in the book.
It's just not.
It's not articulated on this.
We have the recruiting and hiring of the staff and teachers between February and August of 2019 on
Right, you've
that
got recruiting
page.
and hiring of staff and teachers, but I just don't see recruiting and hiring of a school leader.
Yeah, I'm looking for it, but that's probably when, I don't see it. So now I'm flummoxed, I'm sorry, now I'm,
That's all right.
got my heart racing a little bit.
It's all right, it's our
Trying
job
to
to ask
find
the
it, I'm
tough
sorry.
questions.
Do what?
It's just our job to ask the
No,
tough
no,
questions.
I'm glad
No,
you're
yeah.
asking. But yes, management and staffing, section 11.
It just didn't make it into the timeline.
Yeah, hang on. But I saw it in the budget. The plan is to hire before the marketing.
I hope so.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and then finally, just to clarify some of the chair's questions, that there is no relationship, there's not going to be any relationship between Central Florida Preparatory School and your charter school?
None, no,
Okay,
no.
all right, thank you.
Mrs. Robinson.
Okay, I'm going to change gears and go back to the beginning. When you were talking about location in Horizons West.
Yes.
What is your plan for attracting students to a STEM program there? I mean, what's your plan? You talked just briefly, you just mentioned marketing and recruiting. So what do you think your plan is for that?
Well, we'll do a lot of social media marketing. We'll do marketing on LinkedIn because we will market to the parents. We will do marketing that is targeted to a certain age group, and we're not going to market to just that area. We need to market to other areas of Orange County. So, because we would like to offer that program to any student, and we will have areas that we would go and use the buses and pick up students in certain targeted areas. Certainly, everyone should be able to do that. It's just that we felt that there was a need for that type of school on this end of town, and I did not want to compete with a successful school that you already have operating in Orlando. I mean, that would be, I would try not to be on top of another charter school or another very popular public school.
Okay.
So-
And then, of course, some of that will cost money. Did you have that itemized in your budget? Are you planning to spend money on marketing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You did. I'm sorry, I missed that.
There will be marketing in the opening budget. That's all. I just have to find the marketing plan. It's back here in the 20s.
While she's doing that, on page 76, Ms. Colbert, is that how it's pronounced?
Colbert.
Coburn. I did put in that the board will advertise for the leadership position once the charter has been approved, and that is on page 76 in the document. I apologize, it didn't make it into the timeline.
So I did find that we will do advertising, recruitment, supplies, mails, orientations. We'll go out into the community. That would start in March. And then our administrative personnel comes on board, directors, principal salaries. That's in May. So we'll start with mailers and information so people know that we're coming to the area, and we'll be able to do billboards, Google Voice, where you dial a number and it actually gets translated to your phone or some other device, and you're able to communicate with families. And so those are very inexpensive ways to market, which are technology-driven, that don't cost a lot of money up front,
Right.
but they're very, very effective tools for
Good.
marketing.
Okay, well, I was just curious. Thank you.
All right, board members, any other questions? Oh, thank you. Okay, so you probably know what's coming. I ask it of every applicant.
Yes.
Will you agree to a review of your charter and possible revocation if you do not test enough students to obtain a letter grade from the state of Florida?
Absolutely.
And will you agree to the same in the event that you do not obtain at least one letter grade of C within a 3-year period?
Absolutely.
Or higher? Okay.
Oh,
so
we
you're-
want to be higher.
Okay. All right, Ms. Gould.
Where you're looking as your primary site is pretty competitive marketplace.
Correct.
And,
We know.
And the public schools tend to draw the most of that population in that site. And in looking at your application, what do you think is going to be the market differentiator here? Because we have Project Lead the Way, we have Ed Keyser equal programs in the schools out there. So what's going to be the real choice option with this school?
I think that we are going to be working with families who are looking for a smaller environment.
Gotcha.
Who are looking for more individualized, or they're feeling that with a smaller market, you know the students, you know the parents when they drive up, they feel more connected, and they feel more connected with the school. And their students, not every student operates and feels the warm and fuzzy in an environment with 1,000 students. So when they're in a smaller environment, they have more friends, they have more opportunities, to be honest with you, to get up in front of the class. They're not a little tiny fish in a giant, giant pond. They're all kind of the same size fish, and they all have the same opportunities. And that's been my experience as to why, and that's the same reason that mid-career and late career teachers look for a smaller school to go to. They have it's, for them, it's less bureaucracy. It may not really be, but it's the appearance of it. They have more autonomy in the classroom. The students, they have sweet classrooms. Their parents are very, very involved. They become more personally involved with their families. So that's been my experience. Why those, and even those new teachers, they come because they need to be trained. And they need an environment where they can be successful instead of jumping into a giant elementary or middle school that is huge, and they're a first-year teacher, and they have a mentor, but they've got a well-established team over there. And you guys all have been in education, so you know it's not always the most friendly environment because everybody wants you to be at their level right then and there. So in a smaller environment for those first couple of years, those teachers are getting their feet wet in a real classroom environment, but they don't have the same pressure that they would have if they were in a huge public school. So
Thank you. That
that's my
answered my
answer.
question.
Okay.
Thank you for your
Thank you very
patience,
much.
and thank you for waiting through that lengthy earlier presentation.
That was-
We're
it was a
sorry
nice
it's taken so long this
presentation.
evening, but
So
nobody can accuse us of not being thorough.
that's okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you all. Have a good
Moment
evening.
of it.
All right, with that, board members, anything else? All right. We are adjourned.
Good night.